was trying to write a goodbye that sounded like an invitation to stay. But the words wouldn't come 'cause the truth was too heavy for the paper. You were moving toward the city, and I was rooted in the red clay soil. We shared a life like a book that we both forgot to keep reading, until we realized the last chapter had already been written in the silence. The pressure of the unsaid is cracking the windows of this house, and the ticking of the grandfather clock sounds like a final warning. Love didn't break under the pressure, it just evaporated like morning mist, leaving us with a geography that no map could ever truly explain. I watched you pack your heart into a box and tape it shut for good, while I stood in the doorway with 1,000 weights stuck in my throat. Now the distance is a canyon where my voice just echoes back to me. I looked in the mirror. Miles of silence. The porch swing is swaying in a wind that smells like rain and empty promises. I found a single earring in the couch cushions like a silver tear. Every time the phone rings, I hope it's the wrong number or a ghost, because the truth of your absence is harder to swallow than cheap whiskey. We grew apart like two trees searching for different patches of sun, until our roots were the only things keeping us from moving on. The air feels thick with the weight of the letters I never mailed, and the horizon is looking more like a wall than a doorway today. Heartbreak isn't always a storm, sometimes it is just a drought. Watching the person you love become a stranger in a different zip code. I gave you my hand, but I never gave you a reason to stay put. Now the highway is singing a song that I don't know the words to, and the distance is a thief that stole the warmth from my bed. I spent my words on the harvest while your heart was starving for a sign, thinking that providing meant more than just being there to listen. I let my ego drive the truck while you were walking in the ditch, blaming the miles when I should have been blaming my own stubborn feet. It wasn't your departure that broke us, it was my long-term stay in a version of myself that didn't have any room for your needs. I'm stripping back the layers of the man I thought I had to be, revealing a vulnerability that I've hidden for 20 long years. It's honest and it's ugly, but it's the only truth I have left. I am changing for the better, even if it's too late for you to see. The morning fog is lifting and the road ahead looks clear and cold. I'll keep walking forward even if I'm walking into the wind. There is a peace in knowing that you're finally chasing your light. I'll find my own way home through the quiet you left behind. echoes of the playground. Under the flickering porch light, we felt like giants. In the middle of the night, a handshake was a contract that couldn't be broken. Back when the truth didn't need to be spoken, I knew your secrets, and you knew all of mine. Walking together on a thin straight line. The seasons keep changing while we stay the same, but the spark in our friendship is a dying flame. I'm reaching for someone who isn't there anymore, watching the tide pull away from the shore. A slow motion parting of two kindred hearts. Now you talk about politics and interest rates, while I'm still worrying about the closing gates. You found a religion that I can't understand, and I've got a life that didn't go as I planned. We're polite at the funerals and the weddings we attend, but I know that I've lost my very best friend. It's funny how time makes a hero a ghost and takes away the things that you needed the most. We're just two branches on a dying old tree, trying to remember how we used to be when the world was as small as a yard. I'll keep the memories in a box on the shelf and try to find a way to be okay with myself. Safe travels on the road you've paved, for all the moments that we never saved. Just a quiet sigh.
Cracked yellow line is bleeding into the oil stains on this lonesome stretch of blacktop. My headlights catch the skeleton of the old Sinclair station, where we used to steal kisses. The air smells like damp pine and the copper tank of an approaching autumn storm. Every shuttered window on Main Street feels like a cold eye watching me crawl back home. I passed the water tower with all names, faded under 20 years of rust and rain. My knuckles are white as bone against the warm leather of this steering wheel. The silence in the cab is screaming louder than the diesel engine ever could. Every mile marker is a tally of the days I spent running from the truth. Shadows of the oak trees dance across the porch where a rocking chair sat still. The moonlight spills like silver whiskey over the fields we used to call our kingdom. A broken heart don't make a sound when it hits the floor of a ghost town. There's a flickering lamp in the window of the house where I left my soul behind. Didn't just walk away from the girl. I buried my father's pride in a shallow grave. Left the mortgage on the kitchen table and took the only key that still worked. Now I'm staring at the darkened nursery window of a life I wasn't brave enough to lead. The guilt tastes like wood smoke and the bitter dregs of a bottle of cheap rye. I was a coward dressed in denim and a reckless dream of something better than the soil. God, I wish I'd crashed this truck before I ever crossed that county line 10 years ago. I'm finally letting go of the steering wheel and letting the memory wash me clean. The sunrise is a pale bruise on the horizon as I put the truck back into gear. I don't need a map to know that some roads only lead to a quiet final goodbye. I'm leaving the ghost to the night and taking the peace I finally found in the dark.
Town I'll never visit sits on the table. It's the closest I can get to the life you're living 3 states away. I remember the way your eyes looked when you talked about the coast, and how I always changed the subject to the weather on the ranch. We were living in the same house, but different time zones for a decade, waiting for a train that we both knew was never gonna pull into the station. The pull of the highway is a frequency I'm finally starting to hear, and the silence in the kitchen is the loudest sound I've ever known. We grew apart like 2 trees searching for different patches of sunlight, until the shade between us was too cold for anything to grow. It wasn't a lie that killed us, but 1,000 truths we never told. Now you're chasing the sunrise while I'm watching the stars go out. Distance is just the physical proof of the gap I let grow in my heart. I realized today that I was counting swinging, swaying in a wind that smells like rain and empty promises. I found a single earring in the couch cushions like a silver tear. Every time the phone rings, I hope it's a wrong number or a ghost, because the truth of your absence is harder to swallow than cheap whiskey. We grew apart like 2 trees searching for different patches of sun, until our roots were the only things keeping us from moving on. The air feels thick with the weight of the letters I never mailed, and the horizon is looking more like a wall than a doorway today. Heartbreak isn't always a storm, sometimes it is just a drought, watching the person you love become a stranger in a different zip code. I gave you my hand, but I never gave you a reason to stay put. Now the highway is singing a song that I don't know the thief that stole the warmth from my bed. I spent my words on the harvest while your heart was starving for a sign, thinking that providing meant more than just being there to listen. I let my ego drive the truck while you were walking in the ditch, blaming the miles when I should have been blaming my own stubborn feet. It wasn't your departure that broke us, it was my long-term stay in a version of myself that didn't have any room for your needs. I'm stripping back the layers of the man I thought I had to be, revealing a vulnerability that I've hidden for 20 long years. It's honest and it's ugly, but it's the only truth I have left. I am changing for the better, even if it's too late for you to see. The morning fog is lifting and the road ahead looks clear and cold. I'll keep walking forward even if I'm walking into the wind. There is a peace in knowing that you're finally chasing your light. I'll find my own way home through the quiet you left behind.
Like a choir of forgotten sins, I'm sitting where the sidewalk ends and the wilderness begins. The label on the bottle's the only map I'm following tonight. I'm hiding in the darkness because I can't stand the light. My reflection in the window is a man I don't recognize. The rhythmic thumping of my heart is like a muffled drum. I'm waiting for the reckoning that I know is bound to come. The shadows are stretching their fingers across a dusty floor. I can hear the sound of someone knocking at the cellar door. It's a long walk home when you've burned every single bridge. I'm standing on the edge of a jagged and a broken ridge. The sky is a bruise and the earth is a cold hard bed. I'm haunted by the things that I should have never said. You see a man who's lonely and looking for a bit of peace, but I'm the one who provided the trigger sweet release. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a twist of cruel fate. I planned the whole thing out behind the garden gate. I'm the wolf in the sheep's clothing that the shepherd never found. The silence in this room is the loudest thing I've ever heard. the floor is falling away. I'm a dying ember at the end of a very long day. The clock is striking midnight and the tavern starts to fade. I'm paying for the choices that I've already made. The key is in the ignition, but the engine won't turn. I'm just waiting for the world to finally start to burn.
Is the only conversation I've had in years. My reflection in the diner window looks like a stranger I hate. The town square is a circle that never lets anyone leave the middle. I'm tired of the dust and the talk about the weather and the crops. The heavy doors of the mill are closing on the man I used to be, working for a pittance and dying for a dream that wasn't mine. The needle is moving and the shadows are starting to stretch. I've got enough fire in my belly to light up the whole interstate. Everything I own is sitting in the seat right next to me. I'm breaking the silence with a roar that can be heard for miles. The mountains are calling me like a mother I never quite knew, leaving the echoes of the hammer behind for the song. Changed to make my move into the light. Parked the truck at the cliffside and watched the mill smoke rise. Then I turned the wheel toward the west and didn't look back once. The chains of the past are snapping with every gear I shift. I'm a shadow in the moonlight, vanishing into the great wide open. I'm a ghost in the rear view, vanishing into the purple haze. The highway is a ribbon that's tying my future to the stars. No more ceilings or walls, just the infinite stretch of the blue. I'm breathing in the wild and exhaling the smoke of the mill. I spent 40 years listening to the sound of other men's orders. Now the only voice I hear is the one inside my own chest. It's telling me to run until I find where the sun goes to sleep. Triumphant, reckless. I'm finally living for the moment. passing scenery. Every mile is a blessing, and every sunset is a new beginning. Into the golden skies where the struggle is a distant memory. The road goes on forever, and the journey never has to end. Golden skies, I'm finally home. I'm finally home.
Spent bleeding for a man and forgotten my name. The factory whistle sounds like a funeral march for my aid. I've seen the sunrise through a dirty window for far too long. The rust on the gate is the only thing growing in this dead valley. My dreams were gathering dust in the corner of a damn basement, walking the line until I realized the line was a circle. I got a suitcase full of nothing and a heart full of lightning. The engine is singing a hymn about the end of the world. I can feel the gravity losing its grip on my restless bones. I'm flying past the fences where the cows stare at the moon. The speedometer is the only truth I need to believe in right now. Trading the safety for the danger of the open road. I'm a spark in the dark, heading for the edge of the map. I didn't pack a bag, I just grabbed the jacket off the hook. Left my resignation letter on the kitchen table like a final prayer. The gravel crunched under my tires like the sound of the jail door open, man. By the time they notice I'm gone, I'll be 2 states away. The city lights are fading into the purple haze of the midnight sky. The night is a wide open ocean, and I'm finally learning to sail. Every mile is a brick I'm pulling out of the wall of this town. I'm finding the melody in the chaos of the rushing wind. No more shadows on the wall, just the glow of the dashboard lights. I look back at the valley and I don't feel the sting of the past. I feel the triumph of the escape and the weight of the new world. I was born for the motion, not the stillness of the assembly line. Finally breathing the air that wasn't recycled by a machine. There's a glory in the motion that justifies the risk of the fall. I'm chasing the ghost of the legends who never played by the rules. The highway is a ribbon that's tied my future to the stars. I'm the master of the miles and the king of the midnight run. Headed for the borderline,
the new life finally begins. The engine is a steady heartbeat in the silence of the desert. I'm free on my way home. For 7,000 more. 7,000 free. On my way home. 7,000 mornings. 7,000 free. 7,000 mornings. Yeah. 7,000
Rain streaks across the windshield like tears on a dusty face in the middle of July. I'm driving past the high school stadium where the lights are out and the grass is brown. The smell of damp asphalt is mixing with the memory of a cold beer on a Friday night. I can hear the ghost of the crowd cheering for a boy I don't recognize anymore. Tension is pulling at my heartstrings like a fisherman with a heavy line in the dark. The steering wheel is vibrating with the pulse of a town that refused to change. I'm a stranger in a place place where I used to know every dog's name on the street. Broken fences line the pasture where we used to run wild under the summer stars. The taste of iron is on my tongue from the well water we drank behind the barn. Oh, ghosts are hitching a ride in the bed of my truck as I cruise through the square. There's a flickering candle in a window of the church where I fail to pray. I lost the deed to my soul in a card game in Reno, and I never tried to buy it back. Left her waiting at the altar of a dream while I chased a nightmare across the plains. Now I'm looking at the empty lot where my grandfather's house used to stand proud. I traded a lifetime of belonging for a suitcase full of nothing but empty space. I'm confessing to the dashboard that I'm tired of being a man who always runs. I'm breaking the cycle of the road and the whiskey and the lies I told myself at night. This is the breakthrough I needed, standing in the rain in the middle of my own record. Finally learned how to carry right. Headlights cutting through the fog like a knife through thick regrets on a Sunday night. I'm passing the old sawmill where the saws have been silent for a generation now. The air is heavy with the scent of damp sawdust and the ghost of working men. Every pothole in this road is a memory of a journey I wasn't ready to take. My hand is shaking on the gear shift as I approach the house with the blue shutters. The emotional weight of 10 years is pressing down on the roof of this cab. I can feel the gravity of the past pulling me toward the porch light in the distance. Fireflies are dancing in the meadow behind the fence we built with our own hands. A tattered screen door is swinging in the breeze like a heartbeat in an empty house. The silver lining of the clouds is the only map I have left to find my way back. 1,000 unspoken words are hanging in the air like smoke from a dying fire. I found a letter in the glove box that I wrote to her from a motel in East Texas. It's stained with coffee and the truth that I was too scared to mail it back then. I realized I wasn't running to something, I was just terrified of being known. The stakes are higher now that I see the life she built without me in the picture. I'm tearing down the walls of my own stubborn heart right here on this gravel drive. I was the villain in the story, but I'm ready to be the man who learns to stay. I'm breathing out the poison of the rope and breathing in the grace of the valley. A small smile catches me in the rearview mirror as the first bird starts to sing. I'm not looking back anymore because the view in front of me is finally enough. I'm stepping out of the truck and leaving the keys in the dirt for the wind to find.
Carved our names in the paint of the water tower. Spent every single minute of every single hour dreaming of the day we finally leave this place, searching for a life that had a little more space. You were the anchor and I was a sail, two sides of a coin on a dusty trail. The map that we drew has been folded and torn, leaving us weathered and a little bit worn. I miss the person you were before the world got its way, and I'm sorry for the man I've become today. Two souls drifting out on an endless gray sea. Your letter stopped coming about 3 years ago. I heard you move north where the heavy winds blow. I saw a picture of you with a grin that looked forced, like a part of your spirit had been quietly divorced. I'm still in the valley, chasing shadows of ghosts, while you're making speeches and giving the toast. Old age is a mountain that we climb all alone, finding that the seeds we planted finally grown into a forest that blocks out the path back home. Wherever we wander and wherever we roam, friendship is a fragile thing to hold in your sun's going down on the memory of us, covered in layers of silver and rust. I'll see you in the dreams of the past, where things were built to truly last. Goodbye to the way it was.
The whiskey burns the trail that lie ever told her. Sitting on this stool makes me feel a century older. The fan is cutting the cigarette smoke into jagged shapes. I'm looking for a window, but there aren't any escapes. The shadows in the corner are whispering about the past. The floor is sticky with the spilled dreams of better men. I'm waiting for the courage to pick up my heavy pen, but the ink is turned to vinegar and the paper's gone dry. I can hear the lonesome whistle of a train passing by. It's a long way down when you fall on the highest peak. The words of a sinner are the only ones I've learned to speak. My compass is broken and the North Star has gone away. I'm just a pile of ashes waiting for a wind today. Everyone thinks I'm a hero for surviving that winter storm, but I was a reason the fire didn't keep the cabin warm. I took the only blanket and left the others to the frost. I'm the king of a kingdom where every single soul was lost. I carry their shivering voices in the marrow of my bones. The velvet night is closing in like a velvet lined coffin. I'm hearing the sounds of footsteps I don't hear very often. There's a tally on the wall for the sins I haven't cleared. I'm becoming the very monster that I always feared. Take my hand if you wanna see how deep the canyon goes. I've got secrets buried deeper than the winter mountain snows. I'm a hollowed out tree standing in a field of fire. I'm a broken down string on a forgotten country line. The bartender is turning the sign around to close. My true identity is about to be completely exposed. The moon
swapping comic books under the flickering porch light. We felt like giants in the middle of the night. A handshake was a contract that couldn't be broken, back when the truth didn't need to be spoken. I knew your secrets and you knew all of mine, walking together on a thin straight line. The seasons keep changing while we stay the same, but the spark in our friendship is a dying flame. I'm reaching for someone who isn't there anymore, watching the tide pull away from the shore, a slow motion parting of two kindred hearts. Now you talk about politics and interest rates, while I'm still worrying about the closing gates. You found a religion that I can't understand, and I've got a life that didn't go as I planned. We're polite at the funerals and the weddings we attend, but I know that I've lost my very best friend. It's funny how time makes a hero a ghost, takes away the things that you needed the most. We're just two branches on a dying old tree, trying to remember how it used to be when the world was as small as a yard. I'll keep the memories in a box on the shelf, and try to find a way to be okay with myself. Safe travels on the road you paved, for all the moments that we never saved. Just a quiet sigh in the wind.
Spits against the wheel wells like a hail of bullets in the midnight air. I can see the silhouette of the grain elevator looming like a giant over the valley. The scent of wild honeysuckle is thick enough to choke a man who forgot the smell. I'm idling at the four-way stop where the town ends and the regrets begin. Pressure is building in my chest like the steam in an old locomotive boiler. I can feel the ghost of my younger self hitchhiking on the shoulder of the road. The shadows of the past are reaching out to grab the chrome on my bumper. Stars are burning holes in the velvet sky above the place I used to call home. A tattered flag snaps in the wind outside the VFW where we danced our first slow song. Memories are heavy as the iron gates on a cemetery hill under the pale moon. There's a hollow echo in the valley that sounds just like the name I used to whisper. I promised her a ring and a white fence, but I gave her a cloud of dust and a tail light. Found out too late that the city lights are just a neon light told a lonely man. I sold the family legacy for a paycheck that burned through my pockets in a week. Now I'm looking at the weeds growing through the cracks of the life I should have lived. I ain't the man who left, and I ain't the man who stayed. Just a drifter in the middle. Forgive me for the silence, forgive me for the distance, and the bridge I set on fire. I'm standing on the ashes now, finally breathing without the weight of the world. Cooling down as I turn the radio off and listen to the crickets sing. Tomorrow is a different state, but tonight I'm just a man who came back to say sorry. Let the dust settle on the tracks I left behind on this long